So this is session 2 of 3 for Modificias, whatever, Star Trek Adventures. It's the third iteration of Star Trek. Prior to this, I only played a homebrew diceless, and of course, FASA's original Star Trek, where, much like Traveler, you could die during character creation. Anyway, we played Klingons in that one, and we killed each other. So we are not in that particular situation. We are here with the crew of the USS Gauntlet, and this is a Constitution-class ship. We are just after the events of the original series, sort of in between that and some of the movies, and that's our time frame for this, which means, of course, we're still at war with the Klingons. The Romulans are still a strange and mysterious thing. I haven't watched Star Trek Enterprise, so I don't know the events of that, but there was some sort of time war or something. We're going to ignore that for the moment, okay? But we're going to go with this right now. I'm going to have the crew, our lead characters, our actors that will have the little swoosh come by, will explain who they are, and then I'll do the captain's log, and we'll do the teaser on that episode. So let's start with our, let me get back up to the top. That is our science officer. Let's start with our science officer.
Our science officer is Lieutenant Natala, a Denobulan science officer. Grew up in kind of a Starfleet family, so kind of has been around Starfleet kind of all their life, and is really kind of pictures themselves, or at least puts themselves in the position of mom to the group of Starfleet that she's working with at the time, or they're working with at the time. I think you just muted yourself.
I just did mute myself, and I did. There we go. All right. So do you have any strange foci, anything that we should know about that's unusual that makes your character kind of stand out?
Let's have a look here. I have my focuses are anthropology, biology, quantum mechanics, which seems to be kind of a theme with this episode. Mm-hmm. And sensor operations, EVA, and a little bit of fencing.
Fencing, interesting.
Fencing could come in handy.
Okay, you are in a combat situation. So let's come to our chief engineer. Please tell us about your character.
Yes, the chief engineer is Hanner Dell. He is a joined Trill of the Dell symbiote. I think this is his 4th lifetime, and he's into adventure and almost treats ships and technology as if they're another person or another thing that's close to him, that means something to him. As far as strange foci goes, as a symbiote, once permission, I can declare that I have specific stuff to it, and I get a focus for the rest of the scene. And let's see, there's something about momentum that I get, and there's one about where I attempt a task using engineering or science. I can roll an additional d20 as long as I've completed a previous task covering the same scientific discipline earlier.
That's kind of nice. Yeah,
that's the weird stuff.
Excellent. And our medical officer, Lieutenant Tuprell?
Yeah, so Lieutenant Tuprell, she's a Vulcan. She's definitely gone through the emotional purge. I can never remember what that's actually called. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. She is, she is always curious about new life and interesting things on different planets, but she is going to focus on making sure people survive. But again, she's Vulcan, so the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So you may get left behind by her if she determines that's the most logical thing. So,
excellent. Let's go to finally our new character, our Chief of Security, Lieutenant Commander. Please tell us about your character, Christo.
I'll be playing Lieutenant Commander Grelis Jadath. She is a proud daughter of Andoria, and is here to prove how wonderful Andorians are to all the pinkskins in the Federation. She is rash and reckless, although she does not consider herself rash and reckless. She just feels that fortune favors the bold. And on her softer side, she is very into Klingon opera.
And what do you imagine that she looks like? Very classic Andorian? How do you want to describe that?
Yeah, well, I'm going by the picture in the sheet. Pretty classic. She's got the little, I forget what they call them. Antenna?
Antenna?
Yeah. She's very athletic, so she's in very good shape. And I'm sure that plays into how she's going to throw herself into anything. She also has talents, if you will, that enable her to protect other players or other characters. So that will play into it. That would seem to indicate that she takes her job as protector seriously.
And how are we pronouncing your name?
Jadath? Ajah?
Jada?
Jada?
Jada. I'm going to say Jara.
That's fine.
And we'll pretend that's an American saying it.
Yes, exactly. Pinkskins never get it right, and she's giving
right.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to cut forward, and I'm going to do the captain's log, and then we can ask questions, and we'll set ourselves into the scene. Of course, we'll start out with the glamour shot of the ship and the planet, and we can see the wormhole in the background, and episode music goes off, and captain's log, Captain Eltonine of the USS Gauntlet. Following an archaic signal, we arrived in an uncharted system, only to discover a wormhole, but also a planet not yet recorded in Federation databases. Beaming down to the planet revealed a history of Romulan ship, as well as an ancient 100-year-old Federation shuttlecraft. We also discovered a survivor, a person who seemed to have had only 6 years pass in the 100 years, who seemed to be from that previous time period. However, before any more could be explored about this strange phenomena, the wormhole mysteriously expanded. The ground team had to return back to the ship, and we were forced to break off away from the wormhole, barely. However, our science officers discovered that the wormhole is not a natural phenomena, and that, in fact, an object, at least one, is contained within it. We were able to identify it as the NCS Atlantis, a Federation, a proto-Federation ship, lost over 100 years ago. Even more mysterious, life signs, well over 80, were found to be aboard. We were barely able to escape the wormhole, but now we had to return back. Through careful, cunning planning, we were able to devise a plan to use our transporters to the strangely still powered up transport pads aboard the Atlantis. We're able to combine that with several shuttlecraft to make this maneuver. We had hoped to be able to beam over their crew en masse, but a failure in the systems meant that we had to send over our team. It's a risky maneuver. The wormhole continues to expand. There's a question of how long we can maintain our position, how long our batteries, our structure can stand up to the strain before we will have to leave, and possibly leave our own crew persons behind. And that's where we are right now. So are there questions or clarifications, anything like that, before we actually get into the scene that you're at? Okay. So you have used all, essentially, of the shuttlecrafts of the Gauntlet to create a chain of boosters to reach into the wormhole, to reach the Atlantis, and you have beamed over to the old style pad. And as soon as you beamed over, you would have realized that you'd lost someone in mid-transport. A risk that had to be taken, but a loss nonetheless. Additionally, you realize that the lights are dim. Everything here on the Atlantis is operating under emergency power. And right now, you can even hear the creaking of the ship, the pressure and the forces, the gravitational waves, all shaking and stressing it out. As you move forward, you opened a door out from the transport room into the hallway and immediately heard phaser fire and saw that there is a fight, a battle going on in this corridor, and you fell back for the moment to decide what to do. So, transport room, kind of hazy lights, seems to have emergency lighting in here. There's some kind of combat going on in that hallway outside. So, who is first to tell me what they're doing?
I think it would be Jareth.
Okay, then what do you do?
Because she's rash and reckless.
Okay.
Oh, so what I don't know before going into this, I'm trying to see, do I have any equipment? I have a comm badge and a tricorder. That's it? So I don't have any weapons?
No, I believe you have weapons. Should be on your sheet. You have phaser type 2.
Okay. So I think Jareth will quickly put herself in front of the others, take out her, in sort of a protective stance, take out her phaser, and say, "Stay behind me. I'll see what this is about." And she'll hold her phaser up like this and look around the corners or however it is. I don't know if we can see how we're going to be looking at this corridor.
Let's have you make a control plus security roll here to get some look out to say the situation without getting hit. I say it's actually going to be a difficult challenge, so you're going to want 2 successes.
Ouch.
Before you stick your head out, I will remind you that whenever I did my Vulcan mind meld on the Survivor, we saw that they were being attacked by Romulans when they hit this wormhole.
Okay. Can I use my focus of hand phasers?
If you're going to shoot them.
Oh, okay.
Or are you more interested in gathering information or shooting them?
No, I'm more interested in gathering information.
Okay, then you should roll.
Okay, here we go. Did that roll something?
Yes. Look at that. That's 3 successes.
How's that even possible? Okay, I won't argue it.
Because you rolled a 1 on one of your rolls, and it's always 2 successes.
Got it. Okay.
Without the focus. So that means you actually have a point of momentum in the pool. So I moved that little die over there to show that on the Roll20 page. So now you can spend that for extra information right away, or you could save it for other things. What you will see is it looks like you're actually at the fight is kind of at the tail end. There are people in old style uniforms on both sides of this battle. And they're worn, they're hazy. They all have that classic Star Trek when people are kind of crazed. They've all got the kind of the wispy beard and so on, the half shaven look to them. They're firing essentially very old style phasers through here. They are firing mostly stun here, but one group seems to be falling back. And they've got a hold of somebody and they're dragging them and firing at the other group. The other group is trying to pursue to keep firing, but they're being driven back. It looks like they're kind of the losing side in this conflict. So that's what you're going to get from those 2 successes and not get hit. Do you want to spend that extra momentum to get more information, or do you want to keep it in the pool for the group?
So did you say that one of the groups is human and one of them, or one is
They're
Federation
both
and one is
human.
Romulan?
They are
human
both
groups.
Starfleet officers or proto-Starfleet officers.
So they're in the same types of uniforms, it's the older style of uniforms, so from the same time
Oh, yeah.
period. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll spend it for more information right now.
Okay. Which group do you want to know something more about? The one pulling or the one sort of following up?
I want to know what John wants to know more about. I want to know more about the one that's winning.
Okay. So it looks like you're seeing more command and security uniforms amongst that group. And the person that they're dragging is not wearing that. They're wearing an engineering uniform. And it has the look like, as you see, the other group looks like they're made of engineers and security. Looks like this person just got captured, and they actually have kind of a ranked uniform. Looks like they might be a chief engineer or something. And they are getting dragged up this ladder away. Does that seem fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about the 3 of you? What are you doing?
So I'm
Go
actually going to work on the transporter. Since
Okay.
we had a loss here, I think it's important to see what's going on with the transporter, make sure it's ready for us to get out, because we're going to put it through a lot of use to evacuate everyone.
Absolutely. I think then that, let me see what the role is going to be for that. I think that's going to be a reason plus engineering.
And I don't think damage reporting procedures works here.
No.
Come on.
So 2 successes. So the transporter hasn't seen a lot of use. It's something that when you were looking at the notes and something we mentioned before is that the transporters at this point in time are viewed with some skepticism by the proto-Starfleet. So it's in decent shape. It has the same sort of level of damage that the rest of the ship does. But you're surprised that power is still running to this because power's been diverted, minimal systems in a lot of other places. You're surprised that there's still power running through this section of the ship. But it's pretty minimal. If you're going to use this to boost the transport signal, you're going to have to reroute significant power to it. Sound reasonable?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Victor, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I want to go over to one of the consoles in the room here, and see if I can tap into anything environmental. I want to see if maybe there's some hallucinogenic in the air, or some microbe or something that could be causing some of this up here. I know there was the fungus down on the planet, but I don't know if maybe that's got up here or originated from up here and got down to the planet.
That's a good question. You'll go over to the console that's in this room that ought to be hooked up to the computer core to get reference stuff, and it is shut down and locked out. Like somebody has very deliberately locked down access here.
Okay. Well, I should know how to kind of break into some of this. I mean, shouldn't be too difficult to do.
It's going to be it looks like it's an engineering challenge here, because they've actually cut this off from the computer core.
Okay.
So let's have you roll reason plus engineering.
Reason and engineering. Let's see if I have anything else that may come in handy. Probably. Yeah, it doesn't look like I have anything that would be like a good fit.
Okay.
For additional anything. Try that and that and that. Okay. And I got one.
Okay. And that red means that you rolled a 20, which means that you'll pop open the panel to get that open, and the ship is fairly primitive, and you're uncertain how to get at that, but you will also realize as you've done that you've tripped some kind of alarm. Some kind of alert.
Okay. I'm gonna mention to the group. I think they may know we're here now. And there's got to be a little red light just blinking like crazy under there.
Ding, ding, ding. What about
moms?
T'Prell, what about you? What are you doing while this is going on?
Well, trying to kind of figure out the situation. Once we're told about what's going on outside with the phaser fire, I'm kind of wanting to see if we can kind of disrupt whatever's going on by, especially now that our, there's an alert, we might as well, announce ourselves and see if that'll at least get them to stop for a minute.
So I assume then we'll cut to a moment with you and our Jahra in that doorway there. You haven't revealed your presence yet, but you guys could discuss how you wish to proceed. I don't know if you're on the same page about what you want to do. So let's cut to that interaction.
Is the phaser fire still happening, or are they just retreating right now?
There's still scattered fire coming. And the two sides are fine. So it looks like they're about to get that engineer up the ladder and fully fall back, and the other group is going to go back to regroup. They're not pursuing right this second.
And did we get any indication of their ranks?
It's hard to tell. The chief engineer, that was probably the only sort of ranked officer that you saw amongst either group. Other ones would have been minor old style dots and dashes. You're not sure what's ensign and what's not.
So, T'Prell, what do you think is causing him to act this way? This is very strange for me. It's illogical.
It is very illogical that a crew would turn on itself, though I imagine the hardships they have faced based on the data we've gathered, it would put much stress on weaker minds. Perhaps we should try to do something to stop them from hurting each other. Perhaps we can access the comms, and maybe our strange presence would get them to at least stop for a moment. That way we can try and talk to them.
I think that's a good idea. I can probably help bypass any blocks on the communications channels.
Yes, let's work on that.
Are we going to announce ourselves as a rescue party?
That seems the most logical.
Okay,
Before
so
we do any kind of rescuing, we need to open up the system so that we can get power back to the transporter to get off.
I don't think
Just
we'll
so
get
you know.
very far if the hallway is blocked by phaser fire.
Yeah,
Perhaps
but
if we can bring them to some sort of agreement, we can get them to work on it themselves.
yeah, in case they decide to turn against us, it would be probably beneficial to get a secured connection going, at least, so they don't cut us off. I mean, they could cut us
Yes.
off completely, and then we wouldn't be able to use the transporters at all.
Yes, you are correct in that.
And so the one group is going to fall back, and the other group will disappear up to another deck with that engineer, which will the hallway will be clear for a moment.
So we have an opportunity to go out. This is too tempting for Jareth, I imagine. So wait, we have the science. Who else would be able to override the security protocols?
So what you will have realized from our from Lieutenant Natala's exploration of the comms is that a lot of work has been done clearly on the ship to butcher and cut up the systems. Like clearly that's been something that's been, it's been fought over. And so clearly control of those things has been centralized and things have been cut off and shut down.
So does that mean we would need to make our way to the main system?
Need to get to command, or need to get to bridge, or you need to get to the computer core, or you need to get to engineering. There are a number of places. I mean, what's going on may be divided up amongst different places. You're not sure.
Lieutenant Henner, where do you propose is the best place to start for kind of securing this power to here? Is that do we need to head to engineering, or where would you go first?
Without knowing exactly what they've done to these systems, I think the best point to start is to get some of the crew on our side. Once they're on our side and they know that we can get them off, then they can help reverse whatever lockdowns they put in place.
I'm thinking most likely we probably have a two-team split among the crew that's on here. So most likely we'll get at least one of the sides on our side. We'll be able to attract one of the sides. I don't know which one, and I'd be afraid to kind of portray us as non-Romulan and then run into the Romulan group. Is there maybe some way of knowing how that hallucinogenic could be affecting them, to Prel?
I want to clarify something here, because it may be a thing that there was a fact that was established last time that I want to make sure it was
sure.
The shuttlecraft went down from this ship down to the planet, but never came back up.
Ah, okay.
Just be aware of that. That the wormhole swallowed the Atlantis before the shuttlecraft ever took back off.
Okay.
I mean, as far as I can tell, there's no nothing strange.
Nothing's affecting us, at least.
Not yet.
Yeah, nothing
Though
you
it
can
may
tell.
be good. Though it may be good to go to the medical area and see what their equipment, if there's anything readouts on their equipment in there.
So Hannah, if the firefight has kind of died down, I think Hannah sticks his head out the window or out the door and says, hey, I think we should follow these guys someplace. Which way did they go?
Well, the command group went up the ladder, and the other group, which I guess was more engineering, went the other way. So, do we want to split? I'm concerned about the security implications if we split up. We would be putting all of everybody in danger. There is safety in numbers.
Yes, it would be better to stay as a cohesive group.
So I would think that we'd be better off probably going for the command group, especially since I took the engineer.
They would probably have more control from the command center if that's where they're holed up.
So if nobody objects, follow me. And since she's looking at this as sort of, I guess, a military, battle situation, she would consider that probably, even though we're all the same rank, she'd probably be in charge of something like this, unless it was designated that somebody else would be in charge.
You are a lieutenant commander, which actually outranks everyone else.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize that, but okay.
The only one who would have even been comparable rank would have been Zhang, who mysteriously died. So somehow, in her death, you managed to.
I did not arrange this. This was not. I did not adjust the transporters.
Dorian plot.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I'm gonna adjust phaser to stun and kind of fall in line to head towards command.
Okay.
I think as I walk down the hallways, I kind of stroke it, and I'm like, it's been years since I've been in one of these ships.
It's ancient of day. So you're not trying to conceal your presence as you move, right? Like you're not sneaking.
No, she's rash and reckless. She won't sneak, but she'll stay in cover. She's not going to be exposing herself, but she's going to make it very clear that she's moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move from cover to cover. And I'll take the back and keep watch. I do have vigilance as a focus. I've heard. Make sure nobody comes up behind us.
You seem to have some clear space to move in. You're on D deck here, and the engineers who were fighting have fallen back, so you've got clear space in that hallway, and it looks like you can make your way up. Obviously, the turbo lifts are out of service. All that secondary stuff is shut down. And you will move up into this next level. A couple minutes have passed since those people moved through. And you'll pop up and start moving. And there are hallways, but there's some barricades there. And you will see a couple of these officers, these crew personnel there. You kind of guess it looks like maybe this C deck is maybe some of the recreational facilities and gym and those kinds of things. It has that smell of living quarters to it as well. And as soon as you pop up and kind of move and they can see you in the light, they're up with guns out. What do you say?
I think I'm going to come forward and command them to lower their weapons. That we are, mean no harm. We're here to rescue them.
So they're paranoid. They're on edge. They maybe have never seen an Andorian before, which is the first person that they saw. They know what a Vulcan is, so that's at least something. But also, they don't know what Romulans look like, so they don't know that Romulans look like Vulcans. That is to your advantage. So let's have you make a presence plus command roll.
Okay.
Difficulty.
So I have doctor's orders, which
Okay.
means I attempt to coordinate others or coerce someone into an action or refraining from a specific course of action. You may use your medicine discipline instead of command.
Perfect. Good, because the difficulty is 4.
So let's talk about this for a second. Is there helping?
Yes. If you can tell me how you would help. You also have determination. Everybody has a point of determination, I believe, on your sheet. Let me make sure.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's even used theirs last time, so I don't think so.
Yeah.
I also have a talent that may come into hand here. When attempting to assist a task and 2 or more other characters are involved in the task, the first complication generated on the task may be ignored.
Okay, good. That'll help.
So maybe kind of saying that we're lending some extra words to your statement to them that we are here as a cohesive group to kind of help with.
Awesome. So you're assisting, and you're going to reduce any potential complications or fallout, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
How is Dell assisting?
So Dell, once they, whenever he sees that they're saying we're coming in peace, we're a rescue mission, he goes on to explain. It looks like you've been caught in a anomaly, and we have our ship is available, and we are trying to get everyone out. Do you want? And I briefly explained the science behind it. Like, we set up a transporter buffer, blah blah blah.
It's still going to be for you presence plus command to kind of assist, but you can add your successes onto to Prels.
So it's 2d20, right?
It is 2d20. You have a point of momentum. You could use to add that bonus die. You could also spend your point of determination to give yourself a bonus die or to re-roll a die. So he's added.
This is
yeah, he's added 1 success to you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going to use my determination to add an extra die.
3d10.
Breaking up a lot for me.
Oh, sorry.
And unless you want to say defensive tactics, I don't think I have a focus.
No.
Yeah. All right. So that's 2 successes.
So 2. You've got 3 total successes here. Complication is reduced. Zarath, how are you assisting if you are?
I think Jonathan understands paranoia very well, because aren't the Andorians sort of conspiracy oriented?
Yes.
So I think she would probably understand how to either manipulate them or calm them down based on this. So she probably would add to that being very calm but firm. We understand that your concerns with us and your fear that this might be a trap. What can we do? What can we do to help you accept us?
So let's have you roll presence plus command, and essentially your Andorian nature acts as an aspect, which gives you fictional permission to do that.
Presence and command. And 1 die?
2d10.
Oh, 2d10. Oh, okay. I thought it was just adding to his.
No, you roll these separately and pool successes.
Okay, and so no focus. Or is that the value?
No focus.
No focus, okay.
Just edge. So they will say, put down your weapons. We will take you to the who's in charge.
Dell puts down his weapons.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
And steps forward.
Okay.
I guess I'll set mine down as well.
Okay.
I think Jareth will change the setting on her phaser so that if the setting isn't reversed, that is going to trigger on whoever picks it up and tries to use it.
Okay.
If that's possible. I think I saw that in some series somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's probably a reasonable thing to do.
And then she'll put hers down also.
Okay.
And Natal has no problem putting the weapon down.
Okay. They look kind of ragged and feral, and they will they're kind of acquiescing, but they're still, keeping their guns up. They're really on edge. Like
we just make sure
paranoid.
they feel like they're in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they definitely watch Jarath more heavily. Like the rest of you look sort of strange. The Denobian looks odd, but the Andorian looks the strangest. They've never seen that, and so they will move you along. The last guy will go and he will pick up the weapons, and they'll move you through the gymnasium here, essentially the little rec area, and you can see that there are cots set up and emergency sort of frames, and this has clearly been turned into living quarters for a certain portion. And you'll see some more people, in the gold of command, and some in the marks of security. And they definitely watch all of you strangely as you're marched along. And they will take you past that up to another set of sort of like ladders that go up, and they'll make you go up from here from C deck again on up to B deck. And again, ship shakes during the course of this. You can feel it in your bones, Del. This ship is not long for the world. And they will take you up. There's a group of people. It looks like there's maybe you see as you come in them taking that engineer, a couple of people taking that person out to another area, and there are a couple of people talking, and you'll see this woman who you can see she's got a nasty scar that has gone down her face almost to her collarbone, that seems to have been treated, but not with anything equivalent to the advanced science of medicine that you have. And she'll turn around, and her eye is that kind of milky cataract, like it clearly took some kind of energy burn there. She has short cropped hair, and she's like, when she sees you, she's like, "Who are they?" And like she's like looking around for weapons, and he said, "No, they we got their weapons. They say they're from another ship." And she looks at you and begins to kind of circle questioningly. I'm First Officer Caitlin Malloy. I'm the acting captain of the Atlantis. How did you board our vessel? Did you come on the ship? Are you one of another one of the people from the ship?
I am Lieutenant Commander Jara. I don't know what other ship you're talking about at this time. We came on our ship, the Gauntlet, and we used a transporter to get over here.
Transport? Those things don't work for shit.
We are from a very advanced ship.
If you're trying to imitate United Earth Federation, you're not doing a very good job with your uniforms.
What you don't know is that you are stuck in an anomaly, and we are from several years in your future. The uniforms have changed, and things have also changed about the transporters and technology. I can help you. I can tell that your ship isn't doing very well, and we came over to get your people off.
Are you an engineer?
We are another Federation ship. We are another Federation ship.
Are you an engineer?
I am. And I'm a good one.
What kind of proof do you have that this is true? We're in a situation where we have been deceived and lied to for the last 2 years.
One thing that we can show you is our friend here, the Andorran, of a race you have never seen before.
That's not helping me at all, given that we have an alien running amok on the ship.
Oh, you'll have to tell us more about that in a moment. We also have our tricorders. I have my engineering kit and our weapons that are of advanced design.
And she'll gesture over and she says, go and negotiate with the science team. Have them send someone up here. And one of the people will kind of scurry off here. And she goes...
You mean ask the science team, negotiate with them? I mean, aren't they under your
hold
command?
their own section of the ship. They do not see eye to eye with the others. They're not part of the mutineers, but neither are they willing to go along with my vision.
Okay.
And what happened to your captain?
She says, give me a moment to look at the items that you have brought, and then I will explain.
Including the alien that you talk about?
Yes, whatever. And the guy who picked up your weapons will bring them over and set them, essentially those phaser 2s on the table, and she'll look at them. She's cautious. You're actually pleased that she's as paranoid as she is, because she isn't picking them up to use them or take them or anything. And she'll take a look at one of the tricorders that you have. You've got so much subspace interference and different energy fields going on here. It isn't functioning well, but she can tell that it's... I mean, it looks human. She can recognize that design, but it doesn't look like anything she's seen. And she'll hand it back.
What does her uniform look like? What branch is she from? Command or?
Looks like she's command. She's actually wearing the first officer's badge. You'll recognize that. So she's clearly second in command. She will stop, and you're in the command area, but not the bridge. And there's kind of a makeshift console here that she will sit down at, and she will go, We arrived in this system 2 years ago. We were chasing a pair of Romulan birds of prey. They'd hit a colony on the outpost of Zega 6. We were lucky we were able to catch one unawares and take it out completely. And then we spent the next week chasing the other one, wounded. We arrived here at this system, and we were able to, in a desperate launch, hit the last warbird. And it went down. We docked in orbit, and I sent down a team on one of our shuttle pods to the planet below.
So we have unfortunate news about that team.
Really? They're still alive?
Before we encountered your ship, we went down to the planet because we had received their distress beacon. When we arrived, it was only. Did I get the name of that guy that we rescued?
Yeah, Lieutenant Kearney.
We rescued Lieutenant Kearney. He had.
And when you say that name, you'll see one of the guys who looks like maybe he's this first officer's like second in her second in command will kind of like clearly that news comes as a pleasant shock to him. And Kearney's still alive, she says.
He is the only one of his team still alive. Unfortunately, the planet's environment is not very well for surviving on.
Shuttle pods were never meant for long-term survival.
No, they were not indeed.
We were in orbit when the wormhole opened, and before we knew it, we'd been pulled into it. Was able to get the engines to establish a kind of a braking pattern. We were able to polarize the outer fields and shielding to stabilize the energies, but we had to divert nearly all of our power to making sure we didn't fall in and become crushed. Shortly after that, we detected another vessel in the wormhole, and it launched a smaller vessel. It arrived and docked in our shuttle bay. When we approached and it opened up, there was chaos. And the alien figure that we had only seen for a brief moment killed one of our crewmen and assumed its form, and then vanished into the crowd that had gathered. That alien, that bioweapon that the Romulans created, has been running amok on this ship since then. We have been hunting for it for 2 years.
Strange. You say it's only been 2 years?
Yes.
According to, I already forgot the guy's name. According to what we gathered from your lieutenant on the planet, 6 years had passed for him.
And you will hear someone say, that would be the time dilation that I told you of, First Officer Mallory. And you'll see the gentleman who was sent off comes back, and he's got a guy in the blue of sciences. And he will look to you, and he will say, I'm Chief Science Officer Takahashi. Are you from the future?
According to
we are from the
you, Yes.
Takahashi,
Yeah.
I'll let you debrief with these four, see what they can gather. In the meantime, we must ready for an assault on engineering, and we'll prepare the court-martial and execution. And she turns away to start giving orders on that. And that's where we're going to take our commercial break for 5 minutes, and we'll be back.
Okay.
All right, to review the facts, the ship is split into several factions. There's clearly a sciences faction that has, and science and medical has one group, command and some portion of security. The engineering faction, they've clearly been here for a couple years. Something has happened. There's an alien on the ship that can, apparently a doppelganger, that has apparently helped to set them at each other. It has a look of a place, given the number of crew that are dead, that this shit has been going bad for quite a while. You suspect there's been witch hunts and things like that. The acting captain has captured the leader of the engineering faction. That's who they have. And apparently are talking about doing some kind of publicized court-martial. So all of that is going on. They seem to have accepted that you're from another ship, but you can tell that they're nervous, and some of the talk that's going on amongst them is that whatever this alien doppelganger, this Romulan bioweapon, that they can't afford to let it out. Like, that's part of their fear and guiding principle. So when we come back from the commercial break, you're going to say something?
I was going to, if what they, this Romulan bioweapon, if we
wow, you are cutting out for me. You might want to, Josh, you're cutting out for me really bad.
Huh. Cutting out.
Let's try that again. What were you saying?
I would have description. It sounds anti. We would have about from our time.
Okay, I got maybe a third of the words you said there, but I think you're asking whether what they're describing would have been something you would have known from your time. It certainly doesn't sound like anything that you've heard of.
So Josh is roboting for me as well, so you might want to drop off and join back and see if that helps.
Yeah. So when we come back, Stephen, looks like you have something you want to kind of focus in on. So when we come back from the commercial break, what do we see? Is Del talking to someone? Is Del doing something? Where are you at?
So I think the first officer turns and says, we have to go about a major incursion in engineering. And I turn to her and I say, if you don't mind me saying so, I think it's important that we talk about how to get everyone off this ship. I don't think we need to continue this war right now. I think the highest priority would be to preserve everyone.
She turns to you and she'll say, the highest priority we have is the protection of Earth and to make sure that this doppelganger, this weapon, cannot get loose from here. Who knows what kind of havoc it could wreak on a colony.
I think Jareth will chime in very respectfully and say, your caution is commendable in situations like this. I do believe, however, that working with Lieutenant Dell, we can probably establish filters into our transporters that will detect an alien not of the Federation species. And so therefore we should be able to isolate such a shape changer.
Okay. This is a very difficult persuasion task. She is heavily focused in on this. So who's taking kind of lead on trying to convince her that getting the people off is job one?
So before we go to dice,
Sure.
I think Dell's going to turn to Pro and say, do you think you might be able to, if given access to the medical records, do you think you could isolate this shape changer?
I was just thinking it might be possible to look into the medical records, but also if I have access to their medical facility, I may be able to create some sort of toxin that would force it to change into its natural form.
And she'll say, well, you, Takahashi and the chief medical officer are in command control of the sciences faction. So if you wish to go with them, I know that they have been working for the last 2 years on a way to detect the alien.
Perhaps a fresh perspective would be the key to solving this.
Perhaps.
But it is important to get everyone off as soon as possible.
So, Lieutenant Commander Azarath, what do you think of finding the alien first versus getting everyone off first and then finding the alien? My risk assessment of this ship is that it is on its last legs, and she doesn't have much more to give.
And sir, we can also implement a quarantine protocol as we beam people onto the ship and isolate people in smaller groups while we test.
Including ourselves.
Including ourselves. We will also be quarantined.
I'm going to need some kind of assurance about that.
What kind of assurance would make you
I've had 2 years to hunt this thing. There's not a damn chance that I'm going to let just people waltz in here with any kind of proof say that they are going to fix this situation. You need to show me that you can fix this.
I'm sure that Lieutenant Dell can come up with a methodology of programming the transporter that will definitely convince you. I mean,
Well, you set your minds to that. I've got a trial to run.
What exactly is this trial for?
And she'll say, it's for the woman who killed the captain. And she goes to leave, and she gestures to her second command to kind of oversee
okay.
you guys.
Here's a question for you.
Sure.
So if this trial's for someone who killed the captain and they remained isolated, I could see the acting captain definitely running a trial for this. However, we now have outside access to Starfleet again. Is there any way we could convince her that procedures say, now that you're in contact with Starfleet again, this needs put on hold until an official inquisition can happen?
You could certainly try.
So maybe we can recite line and verse of older code, older procedures. I don't want to give her the current stuff because I don't want to confuse her with the changes that have gone on through time. But
okay, so it sounds to me like you want to try and figure out a way to get in the middle of this trial and stop.
At least stop it for now. Not say it's not going to happen, but say there's a larger structure for handling this situation.
Okay, and and then Dell is going to do what?
I'm going to work with the science officer to try to find some way to isolate the alien life form, either as it's transported, or I can potentially work with T'Prel to try to find it with our advanced scanning technology.
Okay. And
Don't-
T'Prel, you're going to medical bay, to the med lab, sick bay.
Yes.
Okay, to follow up on that. And Zareth?
Don't we need to fix the transporters also?
Yes, you know that they don't have access to engineering right now, so they don't have access to actually powering those transporters.
Can they even be powered to do a smaller transport? Can we transport within the ship?
Not given the fields that are happening right now. As they are right now, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to do?
So we've got a paranoid first officer, or everybody that's paranoid, basically.
Yeah.
We need to give them some sort of assurance. I guess the question is the group, Jacques will say, well, what kind of assurances can we give them? When people are this cautious, what would make them willing to believe us?
So what you're maybe trying to do is trying to survey the situation and see what you can come up with
Mm-hmm.
from amongst the crew here. Does that seem like a reasonable thing?
Sounds likely. Pulling out
Okay.
information.
So let's break that into some scenes and do that to kind of get some things, and then we'll kind of pull you guys back together for some convos. Does that seem cool? Who wants to start? Which scene do you think we should start with that makes sense to you guys?
I think I'm starting with trying to stop the execution. Seems the most pressing.
Okay. So let's come over to our science officer.
Yeah.
So we have this paranoid captain who is hell-bent on legalistic revenge on the person that she's been fighting for the last 2 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of talk to her and say that ask her what does Starfleet procedure say about trials and holding them, and how does this have to proceed forward, and then kind of lead off into so if the situation changes, where does that put you? That's the direction I kind of
Okay.
go with the conversation.
So that makes sense to
her
me.
lead the conversation.
So this does sound like a reason, right? Plus command, I'm gonna say.
Okay.
And because of course her stance is going to be, the rules of the ship, if the captain's dead, I'm the next in command, I have authority, that kind of thing. So right now she's at a hard 5. Okay, let's say that from a 1 to 5, a 5 is she's going to do this extrajudicial murder, and you're trying to walk her down from that. How does that sound?
Wow. That sounds very difficult.
You've got momentum. You could spend to buy an extra die. You have your determination if you have a thing that fits with it. Or even, do you have a focus that would work with this?
That's what I was just kind of looking at. My focuses don't really lead that direction.
I may be able to help. One of my focuses is murder mystery stories.
So maybe pointing something out that maybe there's not everything's been uncovered. That way you're leading.
That's
So
what I was kind of.
that's fine. But if you want to do that, then we're going to pull you away from the medical section here, since we're kind of doing the scenes in parallel. So it's a question right now. You've got time pressure on you. So which would you rather work with?
So I think I'll work with this, and then hopefully things don't go too bad and can head over there afterwards. But
I mean, the
it's
engineering side. The engineering side is probably a little more important for us to get our mission done.
Okay.
This is something that should be handled, but maybe if I just slow it down, that's enough.
I feel like the engineers would have a harder time, or it would be more difficult to convince the engineers if we let this happen.
I gotcha.
I mean, since it's their chief engineer, you know, he was probably their leader, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So we're not actually going to engineering, right? We're going to science.
So you're definitely going to science. T'Prell, are you going down to science? Or are you staying here to get involved with this
I wanted to
argument?
stay here.
Do you want to stay here? I think this is where Jarek will pull you aside and say, I understand what you're trying to do, and I may be able to handle this. I think we need you in engineering or in medical more than here with your science knowledge. With my knowledge of suspicious cultures and suspicious natures, think I might be able to persuade Mallory that this is not the best time for this. That perhaps we need the engineer at this time, the chief engineer.
All
Do
right.
we need the engineer for more than just? Yeah.
Well, if this is the chief engineer, this is the person that knows this ship best of all. And so if this ship is falling apart, we need this person right now.
Yeah.
Your logic makes sense. I will leave it to you.
So you're leaving me the level 5 difficulty challenge. I like that. I just talked myself into that, didn't I?
Well, we have our science officer.
Yeah.
With sort of leading the point on this. So, yes.
No, go ahead.
So let's start with your part of this endeavor, which is going to be reason plus command.
Mm-hmm. And I've got a pool of 2 dice.
Right.
I don't think I have any. None of my focuses really fit.
Okay.
What about values? I've got one called safety in numbers. And
what a value does is it allows you to spend that determination to get yourself an extra die or to re-roll a die.
Okay. So I could hold on to it and then spend the determination later to re-roll. Because what I'm thinking is safety in numbers, if I kind of point out to her, the engineer is important in that they have the knowledge of the ship. Just kind of echoing what our security officer is saying.
Okay.
Just kind of make a concerted front here, the two of us.
All right. Then let's start with your roll.
So I'm going to roll the 2 dice, and I'll use that as a re-roll if I need to fix a really bad screw-up.
Okay.
Okay. So I start with 1 success.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and use my determination.
Okay.
And re-roll that other one. How do I go about doing that with the
then just roll 1 die. Same stats, but 1 die.
Okay, so same stats with 1 die. You said that was reason and command.
Yes.
Reason and command, 1 die. Submit. So I got 2 successes.
2 successes. And Zarath, Gonna just pronounce it every which way but loose for the entire session.
It's those pink skins. They just can't handle that name.
Lieutenant Natalia is kind of working on that sort of scientific reason, and we need to do this and stuff. And what's your tactic here?
My tactic is emotional, so it's going to be laying out the commonalities with Andorian history and how we deal with conspiracies and spies amongst us. And so I'll lay out the argument that actually having their leader in your custody with a threat of execution is more powerful than the actual execution will be.
Interesting. Interesting.
And there's always the thing that we can put him through the transporter first. So de facto, you may end up with your execution because we all know how reliable transporters are. But we'll get much more use out of this. I think you'll get much more satisfaction from both ends.
That sounds like presence plus command.
Is that 2 dice then?
2 dice.
Yeah, I don't have anything else that would play into it, so.
You could spend that momentum to get yourself a 3rd die.
Wait, how many? We only have 1 success right now?
You have 2 successes right now.
2 successes right now.
So, but we need 5.
Yes.
Yep, we need 3 more.
And what is determination will let me reroll?
If you spend your 1 point of determination, you can re-roll or give yourself an extra die.
Okay. Why don't we go
I used mine to do a re-roll to get rid of a failed die.
So why don't I spend the momentum, which will get us 3?
Okay.
And can I use the determination afterwards, or do I have to say I'm doing it now?
I think you can do it afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. I said I had it available, and then I used it afterwards.
Yeah.
Is how I did it.
If I'm re-rolling, I'd have to see what the roll is first anyway, right?
Yeah.
But what else can I use determination for?
So you can use it to give yourself a bonus d20, re-roll dice. You can use it if we're in a combat scene. You can use it to get an extra action, or you can use it to essentially create an advantage for a place. Essentially, establish an aspect that you can others can utilize.
I can't think of an aspect right now. Okay, and we get determination how?
You have 1 determination.
And that's it. Okay. I thought I'd ask. I thought maybe we earned them somehow.
Yeah, there is
Okay.
a way to do it. Is if you challenge one of your own personal values, you can put a tick by it, and so it's not able to be challenged again. But essentially, if you're coming to that, you can generate a point of determination from that. It's not a mechanic I'd mentioned before, but it's one that might come up now that we're in this kind of complex social interaction situation.
Because I don't know, maybe she's holding back on her rash and reckless. Is this reckless what she's doing or not? I don't know. Anyway, I've got 3 dice using the whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
That didn't go well, did it?
No.
Ooh.
So if I use the determination, I get to reroll 1.
You get to re-roll both of those. I think as many of that first roll as you want.
Oh, okay. Wait, do I have any? I should have thought of this. Do I have any skills or unique talents that play into this? I only spent 1. Yeah, no, nothing helps. Sorry.
Okay.
So
take that re-roll.
So it's presence, command.
So what you'll do is you do presence command and roll 2 dice.
Oops, I was acting presence, command, 2 dice. Now applicable focus. Oh, yeah, got me 1 more.
Okay. So I'm going to.
Here's a question, mechanics question. How does the game handle partial successes like that? So if we needed 5 and we got 4, is it a no-go?
It's a success with complication or a success with cost.
Okay.
If you don't quite make it. And then the other thing, a mechanic you're just about to see, is that the GM also has threat. Remember, you generated some of those points last time. I had those sitting around. I've just spent 2 of those. So she will say, you two both sound like lawyers. I tell you
I
what.
think Charlotte looks insulted by that. I'm a warrior.
Well, perhaps the courtroom will be your battleground. I will allow you and your companion to speak in the defense of the accused, but this court-martial will proceed. Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm. I think
this is going to get ugly.
I think Jarla's antenna sort of like twitches a little bit.
Do they make a sad antenna?
Yeah.
So let's cut to the sick bay. And let's actually start with our medical officer. And well, actually, let's have the conversation between our medical and engineering officer. So, what do you two, when you get down there? There's the chief medical officer Martinez, the chief science officer Takahashi. What are you two doing?
So I think we asked for any data that they have on this alien.
And any kind of samples, like whether it's from the body that he dropped or, maybe they wounded him if he left some blood behind or something. If they've got anything of that sort, that might help us identify. Excellent.
So that kind of splits us into the sort of the two things here. Dell, you'll speak with with Takahashi, the science officer, pardon. Okay, sorry, I heard a little bounce there. He definitely got a kind of a weird vibe from him. He has been working on means to determine sort of mechanically the difference between the alien and the human. I'm sorry, I'm getting a weird echo here. So what is your main focus? What is it that you want to get from Takahashi as you're interacting with him, Dell?
Better access to the computer system so that I can look at the records that they have of the alien, of the crew, and also of the ship itself, so I have a better idea of how long the ship has and how we could use the transporters. So basically,
okay.
Access.
All right. Well, let's do that as a roll, and depending on your number of successes, we'll like divvy out questions. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
So I think that's probably going to be let's say reason plus engineering sounds reasonable to me for this, since that's sort of your specialty. It's what's going on here.
Okay. And I don't think I have anything that I want to use yet, so I'll just roll that without a focus.
Okay.
And 1 success.
So what is, if there's one question you want answered out of this in terms of, they control access to information, the computer core and things like that. There's one piece of thing that you really want to get. What is it?
Yeah, it would be how they're currently going about trying to find out this alien. Do they have a scan? Do they have some way of trying to find it?
So it looks like that the science and medical faction are trying to cover over that they've been doing some pretty aggressive testings that right now it's been sort of scans and hearsay, and a lot of people have been, let's say, sent out the airlock on flimsy evidence and accusations. And there's clearly the medical and the science people down here, the people that you're talking to, don't really have any kind of system that they think that this bioweapon is pretty effective. They're trying to find some medical thing that they can scan and analyze with deep tissue removals and stem cell. I mean, they're doing real unpleasant extractions to get this info with very little success. And you can see that their quality of science has degraded over the last year as they've gotten sort of more and more paranoid.
And more desperate.
Yes. Does that sound like a fair answer?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you don't get everything, but that's definitely what you come away with. What about you then, to Prel? What's your focus here? What are you doing? What are you looking for?
So I'm going to focus on any kind of samples they may have gotten that would let me analyze the DNA of this shapeshifter.
Okay. Let's have you roll reason plus medicine.
Okay. And just kind of throwing it out there, since this is a kind of forensic investigation kind of thing.
Yeah.
With murder mystery stories work.
I love it. That sounds good to me.
All right. And that'll give me 3.
3 successes. So one of the things you're going to get is it's pretty clear that the medical officer, that he doesn't have any really good evidence, like anything solid. And to produce results, he has faked some things, and he has clearly, there are probably some people here who are dead who shouldn't be dead because of him. He's got a device that he believes will maybe determine who the alien is, but it's definitely not going to work. You think that if you could maybe get a better sample from the alien's ship, or the bioweapons ship, or the pod that came in on, and what you'll hear from them is that essentially that whole area got decompressed because a lot of sections have gotten blown out, but the ship and the other shuttlecrafts are still down there. But if you could get that you're pretty certain that with your higher Vulcan skills and logic, you could probably find a way around this problem.
So I am going to talk to them, see if we can mount an expedition to try and get that.
And medical officer Martinez, who He's glad to have you there, but you can see he's also fuming because you're clearly smarter than he is, clearly have access to higher tech than he does. Clearly that, and there's a certain amount of probably the Vulcan doesn't pick up on it, but anybody watching the home viewing audience will see him staring daggers at your back. He will say the problem is that the shuttle bay, that area is down on D deck engineering.
Then we may. It seems that the best course of action would be to treat with the engineers to give us access. I believe if we can give them proof that we are trying to help and find this intruder, that they may be willing to help us out.
Well, maybe we can come to some kind of understanding with the engineers if we can work something out. And you'll hear, this is Acting Captain Mallory speaking. As you may know, we now have Chief Engineer Phillips in our custody. She stands accused of mutiny and may be very well the alien intruder, which would explain a great many things about her behavior. A military tribunal will convene within the hour in the main conference room on Deck B to determine the chief engineer's guilt or innocence. Those who wish to attend must relinquish their weapons to Lieutenant Parrish upon arriving through the computer core. All other access points to this deck have been sealed. That is all. And we would cut to a commercial break there. But when we come back from that break, are we already in the tribunal room, or do you want to do some setup here?
So I'd like to talk to Caprell.
Okay. Well, let's do that scene.
Yeah. So out of character for a little bit, I have a second option rather than trying to treat with the engineering. We might be able to get you a suit and transport you onto the shuttle while it's decompressed. Then you could take the readings you need and get you back out.
That may be a quicker way, though more dangerous. Though we don't have much time. If you think you can, I trust that you can make this work, so I am willing to do this.
Okay, so I think I like the idea that we would use the trial as a distraction so that everyone else is at the trial whenever, and we're going to talk to the science officer was receptive, but the medical officer wasn't as much, correct?
That's correct. Medical officer has a lot of guilt and need to cover up his experiments to that's probably driving him.
So I think that I'll talk with the science officers to see about getting an Enviro suit, and then ask for help in order to get to the transporters for an in-ship transport.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to that scene. We see with you getting ready to make your way down to the transporter with the distraction of the trial. So let's cut back to our budding defense lawyers. What's the scene we come back to you two on?
Okay. I think he probably starts out with a little bit of a confab between the two of us on what direction are we going with this. So
Well, do we even know what the evidence is that they have against?
that's something we probably need to get our hands on.
Yeah. What's the chief engineer's name?
Chief Engineer Phillips.
Phillips.
Engineer named Phillips.
I didn't even catch that.
The puns.
Yeah. And it's a woman. It's a human woman.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone here is human except for you guys.
Mm,
Your team is made of no humans.
right, exactly. Let's see. I think we need to play on my paranoia. Hmm.
Well, I mean, were we taking the tack of that we need him for his knowledge of the ship? Was that kind of the primary to the thing? Yes, a trial's fine, but delay the trial.
Um,
That ship has sailed.
That one's
yeah,
gone.
I think
Okay.
that one's probably pretty gone.
Okay. Okay.
So it's either we
Um,
defend her or we fight our way out.
I was gonna say if we fight our way out, the rest of our crew probably needs a good heads up on what's gonna hit them next.
Um, well, I think the best defense is a good offense.
Maybe just a request for access to some of the evidence. Start off that way. Just trying to slow it down.
And question of protocol: Who is going to be deciding? Is Mallory? Is First Officer Mallory the deciding person, or is it a tribunal?
There are 3, apparently a tribunal that has been assigned by Captain Mallory.
Okay.
And the primary accuser is Captain First Officer Mallory.
That would be correct.
Okay. Do we have the personnel files on the people in question?
Nope.
Hmm. Well, I think we're arguing for an unfair trial.
Yeah. I think that's the direction we're gonna have to go. It's like, wait, defense doesn't have any access to what's going on.
And this is where we play into the paranoia.
There you go.
Because why are they not giving the defense adequate information to defend? This obviously indicates a conspiracy of some sort. What did this engineer know or represent that is of such danger to First Officer Mallory?
And there's regulation on the amount and type of information that's supposed to be available. Why is protocol being subverted?
I think this is personal.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can go that direction.
Unless they give us the records, which would be great, but considering neither you nor me, neither of us are lawyers, we're probably better off without the records.
Yeah. Either that or my bet is they're going to be in too much of a hurry to want to give us the records. So.
Yes, playing into the paranoia. Maybe Captain Mallory wants to remove the chief engineer because maybe Captain Mallory is the shapeshifter. And the engineer is the only person that can save the ship, potentially, or understanding really how much danger the ship is in.
So we argue that the accuser is possibly a danger.
We gradually work our way up to that.
Okay. And if it looks really bad,
that's not a powder keg.
Well, you got to remember, she's rash and reckless, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That plays into so many of her values that she's going for broke. And what choice do we really have?
I think your character probably has more handle on driving this thing. I am probably more support for the plan of how you're gonna bring this about. Because I don't know. I mean, yeah.
What sciences do you specialize in?
My focuses kind of range from anthropology, biology, quantum mechanics, sensor operations, and fencing if we have to.
Anthropology would include cultural anthropology.
Yeah, that would probably be the closest one that could get me anything. Biology could probably play into it if maybe we go down the track of this alien's got a different biology. Maybe they don't understand what's going on. Maybe there's
Survival instinct.
yeah, that could be.
That applies to everybody.
Yeah. Well, that's
feeding
true.
into this whole paranoia. What's going on here?
Okay. So how does our trial get started here? Where do we go?
So, we'll probably do the camera panning in that large conference room. You will
the
see
very monochrome conference room.
Yeah, they got only so much money for paints
Yeah.
for the sets, and you will see Captain Mallory is seated off to the side, and there are a panel of 3 crew people that are clearly drawn from amongst her people, amongst the command and security that she has. You will see that across from her, across the room, is Phillips, Chief Engineer Phillips. She's got longer, sort of straggly, darker hair, and she is actually secured to the chair there, essentially, effectively chained to that chair. And there are a lot of people in this room, crew people that have come from the various factions that are around the edges of the room and actually spills out into the corridor. And you two can tell that there's probably not been a gathering this large in a long time. And everyone is on edge and looking at each other and, sort of deeply suspicious. If they've come here for this trial, they've had to give up their weapons. And so everybody's kind of keeping an eye. You will see that the chief medical officer is here, and it looks like there are a number of other people who are present. You're guessing to be called as witnesses against Mallory. So that's the situation. Does that give you the idea? Anything else you want to know or want to do and sort of set up to this?
Witnesses against Mallory or against Phillips?
Oh, against Phillips. Sorry.
So, one advantage I guess we have in all of this is we're drawing everybody to one location, which frees up the rest of our people to move. So they'll have more opportunity to go do what they need to do. So we might want to make this drag on a little bit.
Beneficial side effect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that seems like a good point to do the cut over to the other group. Takahashi will give you the EVA suit, which is a little bulky. Think not Tholian Webb style old Star Trek bulky. Doesn't look like a radiation suit, but not great. And he will say, "You need to go this way and this way. You're going to want to be careful. They're going to have guards from engineering. They're going to be on edge. They're looking for, that they think that this might be a stratagem to attack. So you're going to want to be careful and move with caution through there."
Seeing as how my phaser was taken, will you provide me with one for my own protection?
Oh, that's going to be a persuasion task.
Even better. What about if you come with us to provide protection as we head down?
Oh, that's going to be an even bigger persuasion test.
Okay.
So I think if you want to try and convince him,
I guess we could work together and try that as these are the options. Like either you provide me with or you come with me.
You guys can both roll presence and command. He really doesn't want to give up his gun, and he has no desire to go with you.
Since I'm trying to coerce him, can I use doctor's orders on that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Both can roll and pool successes.
This would be defensive tactics, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, okay. That's a beautiful reach. I'll give you that one.
And I did say for my defense. So.
2 points from Stephen.
Yeah. And 1 for me.
He will give you his phaser. But he is not going to go with you. But it's reluctant. He hands it to you.
We are very thankful of your help. What about helping us reroute power to the transporter so that we can make this kind of transport?
Says, what I can do is we've got certain amount of power that we have routed here from med bay, from the sick bay and the computer core. It's on these circuits. I'll move out of the area if you want to draw on that power.
Oh, thank you. I think I grasp his forearm kind of in a shake. I say thank you.
Kind of doesn't like being touched. Like he's really, especially because you don't look human. But he'll be like, okay, yeah, good.
Whenever I was handed the phaser, I made sure it was in stun as a, not going to hurt you,
That's good, because in fact he did have it probably set on not stun.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to try and move through back to the transporter deck without being spotted, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need each of you to make a roll, and you can roll either control or daring plus security. I'm going to say, for purposes of drama, I'm going to have you both roll, and I'm going to put the difficulty at 1 because all of the other people have been drawn away. Difficulty normally for this test in the module, the adventure, is a 3, but I'm going to make it a 1 because you've got them holding a trial to draw attention.
And it was daring and what?
Daring or control plus security.
Plus security. Would vigilance work as a, because we'd be on the lookout for anyone?
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Stephen, is that a red 0 I see there?
That's a red 0, and I assume I cannot re-roll that with momentum.
You actually can't. Well, you could. Do you have determination? Do you have a point of determination left?
Oh, that's what I mean. Yeah, determination.
Yes, you
And
can.
actually, if you're, is it?
Oh, can you really?
Yeah. If you can ascribe a virtue to what you're doing.
Yeah. So I think the way that this looks on screen is, Hanner's kind of just walking around the edge, all nonchalant like, and he walks around the corner down a corridor, and there's a guard starting to come down, and he quickly drops into a roll and rolls into a doorway, kind of all careful like, and that's going to be adventure.
Okay.
Yeah. So
let's
I'll
have you re-roll 1 die. Get another 20. Was running 13th age last night. Every time they re-rolled, they would roll lower. It was great. Oh. So yeah, we do see that shot. It's the comedic moment in the episode where you make that roll, and you two can sneak and you'll reach the transporter room, and so we'll cut to Prel getting the suit on, and then we'll cut back to our lawyers, our would-be lawyers. Are you kind of trying to prime the pump? Are you trying to set, create an atmosphere in the crowd? What are you doing here? How are you opening up here?
Jareth is going to stand up, and she's actually going to be emphasizing her alienness.
Okay.
And she's going to be saying, thank you so much for, I'm very pleased to see how cautious and aware of security everybody here is, despite the difficulties of this situation. And all of this comes from the Federation's goal of exploring strange new worlds, seeking out new life and new civilizations. And that's led
not
us
the Federation
all to this.
Fight the Romulans.
That's led all of us to this to be in this place at this time. And we have this unique opportunity here to explore what has happened in the past 2 years and how we've gotten to this point. And so, I'm just playing that as like the opening thing, because I imagine you want to flash back and forth.
Sure. You know what I'm going to do, and I hate to cut it here, but I think we actually should probably cut it here with the start of that trial and with the transport thing. What do you guys think? Because we got about 20 minutes left, and maybe I think pushing further is maybe a little bit dangerous in terms of things. Does that seem like a good place to stop?
I think we could get to some really good cliffhangers.
Okay.
Transporter accidents.
All right.
I think the transporter side might be a little easier to do. I think the trial could get lengthy.
Yeah. Let's have you guys. Let's have you two roll, and both our security and our science officer for essentially the advantage, the trait that you're trying to put on the scene. And let's get that. Essentially, okay. You're doing the equivalent of a fake create advantage move here, which is very much what the system has. So I saw you trying to create that paranoia, trying to get that atmosphere in there. So do you want to do? You can either do presence or insight plus command or security.
It's the same for me both ways.
Look at that. This is always what I do to you is I call for various roles and you're like, it's all the same, lol. I have
all
two
the combinations
everything.
Come out the same. So yes. Well, that's easy. So if it's me, then I'll just say I'm doing presence and actually I think it's more, this is presence, right? I'm trying to impress them with something.
Yep.
So presence and command is what I would really roll. And you'd say, so it's 2 dice. I don't think I have any guy that play into this. Yeah, no, squad tactics, not like Klingon opera. I didn't bring that in.
And now I will sing you a Klingon opera.
That's an opening. Because for them, they're still at war with the Klingons, right? So no, I don't think that would be a good move.
Okay.
Only one.
That's one success. And what is your contribution to this, Natala?
Okay, so I'm leaning on insight and security.
Okay.
And also looking at my biology or anthropology focuses.
Anthropology, I'll give you.
And how that the diverse species in the Federation has actually made the Federation a stronger place.
Okay.
And just kind of doing it that direction. Okay.
So 3 successes.
Yes.
So the shot we see of that, and people are like, who are these people? And and you give these big, beautiful speech, and then there's kind of, as you do that, you kind of set the room with that aspect of sort of the caution and the Federation rules. We'll call it Federation rules as the aspect that you've put on the scene, and it will end, with Mallory standing up, and we will hear see some shots of her as she begins to give her opening statement, where she begins to accuse Chief Engineer Phillips of holding the ship hostage by controlling the life support, by controlling ship functions, mutiny, murder. And we'll hear this litany is the voiceover that we see over the scene as Del is getting the transporter ready. And we probably cut back to her, getting angrier and angrier throughout this tirade. And so, Del, you're trying to get the transporter power set here to send your compatriot on a short jump in this crazy, crazy, weird harmonic void that's going on. So let's have you make a reason plus engineering roll.
Okay.
Do you have any good focuses for this?
I will.
Avoid transporter accident.
So, I have, what's it called? Testing a theory. When you attempt a task using an engineering or science you've rolled, so I can roll an additional d20.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
And I'm going to use my joined talent. It was the second, though, Neth, who actually spent time aboard a very similar ship whenever transporter technology was at its very beginnings. And so I'm going to use a focus of transport technology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think while you're preparing this, I'm be sure your calculations are correct. If you can actually put me inside the alien ship, then we could most likely completely avoid detection. Yeah.
So we will see. I've spent just about everything I can hoping that, I don't put you in a wall.
Let's see it. 3 successes. There's that bit where we do the fade and it's kind of not working, so you have to pull the lever down further to show that it takes more work. You have to pull lever further and then back and then do that and we will cut to Prel appearing in this sort of void. We can see the starscape behind. There's a shuttlecraft that's sort of hanging on. It's being pulled by the forces. It's a decompressed area, and you will see this alien ship. Never seen anything like it. It's weirdly angled. It almost doesn't seem like it's of this dimension. Like it's got weird appearances to it. And you'll start moving forward to it, and what you will realize is that there is a set of power conduits and cables that are running from that ship out to the wall. Someone has rigged something up to it. And that's where we'll stop the session. We'll take up with you right away, taking your samples. And how does that sound?
Very good.
Well, like I said, I won't be here for the next session. So
I know.
Oh, that's right.
So what we'll probably do is we will. Do you think you can get those? Do you think you get those samples to the rest of the group?
I think maybe perhaps maybe there's something that's wrong with the transporter, and so I can only send the samples back, but can't get back myself.
Yeah, so you get the samples and you have him do that transport. And as you do that, Dale, you realize that
I was gonna say I'd probably also send my my medical kit, since it would have more advanced technology to help.
Perfect. That sounds good to me. And we would cut away. That last shot would be you stranded on that decompressed area with no way to leave this thing. Everything is blocked and locked off. Is that cool?
Unless I can get the ship up and running.
Exactly.
And try and escape. Though it's unlikely.
I think over the comms, Dell will say, "Not another transporter accident. We'll do our best to get you off whenever we all leave."
I will do what I can to, from here, contact me if you need help figuring out how to use the samples to, I was thinking either track or create something that, as people are being transported, you can test them.
And we'll probably cut back to the voiceover of our captain, our acting captain, who says, "And for all of those crimes, the sentence is death."
I was gonna say, you hear the voiceover, but you get the shot of the accused, like that face shot of the accused.
She looks determined and angry, and she looks up at her two defense lawyers and shakes her head. Okay, guys. So it's for me. It's always weird to judge how much time things take, and I didn't want to rush things, so I think we will finish this out next time. And I apologize, Josh. I wish I had maybe pedaled faster there, so we could have gotten you in for the last scene. But we'll wrap this up next time with trial. Whatever happens after that, maybe you can transport people back. This expanding wormhole. What's going on with the Gauntlet? All kinds of stuff. All kinds of balls in the air for this one. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.